The Senate hearing room pulsed like a coliseum on the eve of battle, every seat a throne of judgment, every camera flash a bolt of lightning carving shadows across marble walls. The air crackled with unspoken vendettas, the scent of polished wood and nervous sweat mingling under the glare of chandeliers that hung like frozen fireworks. Reporters clutched notepads like shields, aides whispered into earpieces, their voices drowned by the low roar of anticipation. At the epicenter sat Kash Patel, nominee for FBI director, his posture unyielding as ancient oak, eyes reflecting the storm about to break. Then Rep. Ted Lieu rose. His tailored suit gleamed under the lights, but it was the smug grin curling his lips that weaponized the moment. A predator's smile before the kill. He leaned into the microphone, the click of its activation echoing like a starting gun. "Mr. Patel," he began, voice slick with rehearsed contempt, "you're not a public servant. You're Donald Trump's marionette, strings pulled from Mar-a-Lago, dancing to dismantle the FBI from within." The words detonated. Gasps erupted from the gallery. A senator's pen clattered to the floor. Lieu's barrage intensified, each accusation a dagger aimed at the heart of Patel's nomination. "You've called our institutions corrupt, cheered chaos on January 6th, and now you dare sit there demanding to lead the bureau you've spent years undermining? You're not fit to guard a parking lot, let alone America's justice." The room reeled, phones vibrated with breaking alerts. Lieu destroys Patel, and progressive live streams lit up with fire emojis, viewers typing in all caps, "Drag him." The ambush was surgical, brutal, designed to leave no survivor. Lieu sat back, arms crossed, victory already tasting sweet on his tongue. But Kash Patel didn't blink. His steely gaze cut through the chaos, unflinching, unbowed. A quiet volcano beneath the storm. The silence that followed wasn't defeat. It was detonation delayed. His fingers rested calm on the table, but the air around him charged with something unspoken, something lethal. The world froze on his face, on the promise in his eyes. And in that breath-held instant, a whisper slipped through the tension. But what he said next? It turned the tables in a way no one saw coming. Picture the winter of 2024. America split open like a cracked fault line. Trump's comeback victory had detonated every cable chyron, every group chat, every family dinner. Red hats flooded the National Mall. Blue cities lit candles in protest. The transition teams moved like rival armies, and in the middle of the rubble, one name detonated louder than the rest. Kash Patel tapped to run the FBI. The same man who once called the Bureau a weaponized bureaucracy now stood nominated to command it. Washington's old guard recoiled in horror. The forgotten towns that had carried Trump across the finish line roared approval. This wasn't a confirmation hearing. It was a coronation, and a crucifixion rolled into one. The Senate chamber itself felt like a pressure cooker. Marble columns sweated under the heat of 1,000 live streams. Every seat in the gallery was claimed. Veterans in MAGA caps, activists in keffiyehs, General Z influencers clutching ring lights, grandmothers clutching rosaries. Phones vibrated with push alerts. Senate votes on Patel today. On outside, protesters chanted in overlapping waves, "Lock him up," clashing with "Drain the swamp," their voices seeping through the bronze doors like smoke under a sealed room. Inside, the stakes crystallized into a single question. Who gets to police the police? The elite guardians who wrote the rules, or the outsider who promised to rewrite them for the people they'd left behind? Because this wasn't about one man's resume. It was a referendum on whose America gets protected. The arrogant insiders, careerists who brunch in Georgetown and leak to friendly reporters, saw Patel as an existential threat, a loyalist who would turn the FBI's crosshairs away from the powerful and toward the powerless who dared question them. The battle-tested outsider, meanwhile, carried the scars of parents who fled tyranny, of soldiers he'd buried in foreign sand, of whistleblowers he'd shielded from retaliation. To millions watching on split screens, Patel wasn't a resume line. He was proof that the son of immigrants could still rise to guard the nation's front door. And now, in this crucible, Ted Lieu circled like a shark scenting blood. His questions weren't policy probes. They were character assassinations wrapped in parliamentary velvet. Each syllable dripped with the certainty of a man who believed history had already ruled. He paced, gesturing to invisible juries, voice rising in crescendo. You claim to love the Constitution, Mr. Patel, but you spent years cheering its desecration. The committee Democrats nodded in rehearsed rhythm. The press gallery typed furiously, headlines pre-written. Liu's eyes gleamed with the thrill of the kill. Yet Kash Patel sat unflinching. His hands rested flat on the table, fingers splayed like a pianist before the storm. No notes, no fidgeting, just the calm of a man who had stared down worse than congressional theater. The air thickened with unspoken fury, an electric charge that made the hairs on every neck stand at attention. Cameras zoomed tight on his face, searching for a crack. They found none. Instead, they caught the faintest tightening at the corner of his mouth, the micro-twitch of a predator deciding when to strike. The room leaned forward as one organism. Phones stopped buzzing. Even the protesters outside seemed to hush, because everyone, progressive, patriot, or somewhere in between, felt the same tremor in their gut. Something massive is about to break. Liu kept talking, words piling like kindling, but the real fire hadn't ignited yet. And when it did, it would expose a hypocrisy so raw, so Washington to its rotten core, that the entire city would feel the aftershock for years. What happens next changes everything. Flash back to the sun-drenched boulevards of Beverly Hills, where Ted Lieu first learned the art of the courtroom kill. Young, hungry, hair slicked like a Bond villain, he strutted into depositions wearing Armani and a smile that said, "Already won," and Hollywood producers feared him. Studio execs paid him. He wasn't defending the little guy. He was the scalpel hired to carve out settlements before the cameras rolled. One leaked email from a Paramount whistleblower called him the smiling assassin who bills by the smirk. That was the brand. Polished, lethal, untouchable. Cut to 2014, the same man swaps the courtroom for Capitol Hill, trading depots for debates, but the grin stays. Now it's taxpayer-funded. He lands in Congress like a meteor, armed with law degree swagger and a Twitter account that fires faster than a machine gun. Within months, he's on MSNBC panels, dissecting GOP scandals with the glee of a kid popping bubble wrap. "Threat to democracy," he thunders nightly, eyes wide for the camera, while his own party buries its own skeletons deeper than Jimmy Hoffa. Contrast the frame while Liu sips cortados in a Georgetown brownstone. A single mom in Dayton clocks double shifts at the warehouse, praying her kid's school doesn't close, while Liu drafts fiery tweets about insurrectionists. A veteran in Tucson fights the VA for the meds he earned in Fallujah. Liu's world is coastal, curated, climate-controlled. His outrage is selective. January 6th is Armageddon, but the summer of 2020, when federal buildings burned and defund became a Democrat talking point, is just mostly peaceful. He rails against weaponized DOJ when Trump breathes, yet stays mute when whistleblowers expose FBI text chains plotting against a sitting president. The hypocrisy isn't a bug, it's the operating system. Flashback to 2019, Liu corners Bill Barr in a hearing, voice-dripping sanctimony. "Did you read the Mueller report?" The clip goes viral, late-night hosts replay it for laughs. Liu struts off set convinced he drew blood. 2 days later, Barr releases the full report. Liu's gotcha evaporates like morning fog. He never apologizes. He just pivots to the next target. 2021, Devin Nunes. Liu brands him Putin's errand boy on national TV. Nunes sues Discovery Leaks Liu's own campaign, took foreign-linked donations through a PAC loophole. The lawsuit settles quietly. The soundbite lives forever. Liu frames it as GOP intimidation. The base laps it up. 2023, a border town sheriff testifies on cartel violence. Liu interrupts. "Your fear-mongering for Fox News hits." The sheriff produces photos of mutilated bodies. Liu blinks, changes subject. Clip trends for 12 hours, then vanishes when CNN cuts to commercial. Each time the pattern repeats. Attack. Viral moment, quiet retreat, memory wipe. And now, 2025, the biggest stage yet, Kash Patel, son of immigrants, war zone prosecutor, the man who carried classified folders through gunfire, sits across the dais. Liu sees fresh meat. He rehearses in the mirror, Trump puppet, conspiracy peddler, threat to democracy. The phrases feel bulletproof. He's done this 100 times. The smirk returns, wider than ever. But mirrors lie, they don't show the cracks forming in the foundation. They don't reveal the immigrant father in Queens who taught his son that words without honor are just noise. They don't forecast the moment when a single, unflinching sentence will slice through years of curated invincibility, Lieu believes the script is his to write. He's about to discover the pen was never in his hand. Somewhere in America, a nurse scrolls past the live feed, exhausted from a 12-hour shift. She doesn't know it yet, but in the next hour she'll forward this hearing to her group chat with the caption, "Finally, someone fights back. Lieu's downfall isn't scheduled, it's inevitable, and when it lands, it won't be loud. It will be surgical, quiet, the way truth always carves its path through noise." The chamber lights dim for the next round. Lieu adjusts his tie, unaware the noose is already tightening. The story begins in a cramped Queens apartment above a bodega, where the smell of curry drifted through the walls and the sound of subway brakes became a lullaby. 1970s New York, rent due, dreams overdue. Kash Patel's parents had fled Uganda under Idi Amin's terror, landing with 2 suitcases and a promise to never again bow to tyrants. His father drove a cab 16 hours a day. His mother cleaned offices at night. They spoke Gujarati at the dinner table, English to the landlord, and hope to their son. "This country gave us tomorrow," they told him. "You give it your today." Little Kash learned early that America was a forge, not a cradle. He watched his dad count quarters for milk, watched his mom sew uniforms until her fingers bled. At 13, he stocked shelves before school, translating for neighbors who couldn't read the eviction notices. Every sacrifice etched a line on his soul: earn it, protect it, never take it for granted. By high school, he was captain of the debate team, not for glory, but because words were the only weapon a poor kid could sharpen for free. College at NYU on scholarships and sleepless nights. Law school at Pace on loans he still paid when the towers fell. September 11th, 2001. He was 21, standing on a Brooklyn rooftop, watching smoke rise where classmates had interned. That night he enlisted in the Navy JAG Corps. His mother wept. His father saluted. "You're going to guard the gate," the old man said. "Don't let anyone burn it down." Boot camp in Newport, then straight to the sandbox. Iraq, 2004. Patel prosecuted terrorists who planted IEDs that shredded American kids. He sat across from men who laughed about decapitation videos, and he never blinked. One defendant spat in his face. Patel wiped it off and read the charges in perfect Arabic. Colleagues called him the monk because rage never clouded his voice. He sent monsters to cells, then wrote letters to the families of the fallen, signing everyone by hand. The letters came back unopened sometimes. He kept them anyway. Afghanistan, 2007. Night raids in Kandahar. Patel embedded with special forces, laptop on his knees in a dust-choked tent, translating intercepts while bullets pinged the walls. A rocket took out half the compound. He dragged a wounded operator to safety, tourniquet tied with his own belt. The operator lived. Patel got a scar across his ribs and a bronze star he never mentions. His wife, back in Virginia, miscarried while he was gone. He flew home for 48 hours, held her while she cried, then boarded the next C-130 because the mission wasn't finished. She never asked him to stay. She knew the oath he'd taken wasn't to her alone. Back stateside, the war followed him. He prosecuted the masterminds of the USS Cole bombing, stared into eyes that still celebrated the dead sailors. Death threats arrived weekly, envelopes with white powder, voicemails promising his daughters would pay. He installed cameras, taught the girls to dial 911, kissed them goodbye every morning like it might be the last. His wife learned to sleep with a Glock under the pillow. They never complained. "This is the cost of the gate," she said, echoing his father. Then came 2017, Trump's White House. Patel volunteered for the NSC, diving into the swamp everyone else avoided. He uncovered the Crossfire hurricane files, the FISA abuses, the texts between agents plotting insurance policies against a president. Colleagues warned him, "Touch that, you're radioactive." He touched it anyway. He briefed Congress in secret, handed over documents that made careers implode. The media branded him Trump's attack dog. He smiled at the label, "Dogs protect the house." The blowback was biblical. Leaks painted him as a conspiracy nut. His security clearance dangled by a thread. Old friends crossed the street. His parents' phone rang with slurs. Can go back to India. He flew to Queens, sat at the same Formica table and told his father everything. The old man poured chai, listened, then said, "They fear you because you remind them the gate swings both ways." Patel nodded, finished the tea, flew back to D.C. and kept digging. Years of hearings, subpoenas, midnight drives to safe houses with whistleblowers trembling in the passenger seat. He aged a decade and 4 years. Gray at the temples, but the eyes stayed clear. Every scar, physical, emotional, political, became armor. The death threats became white noise. The betrayals became data points. The oath he swore at 21 grew roots so deep no storm could uproot it. Now, 2025, the Senate chamber, the same boy who stocked shelves stands nominated to lead the FBI, the same hands that tied tourniquets rest calm on the table, the same heart that wrote unsent letters to Gold Star families beats steady under the glare. He is not here for revenge. He is here because the gate still needs guarding, and someone has to stand in the breach without flinching. Across the dais, Ted Lieu sharpens his sound bites. He sees a target. He does not see the forge that shaped the man in front of him. He does not see the knights. In Kandahar, the miscarried child, the unopened letters, the parents counting quarters. He sees a resume line to dismantle. He should have looked closer. Every scar is a lesson. Every sacrifice is a weapon. And composure, quiet, unbreakable composure, is the sharpest blade of all. The underdog isn't barking. He's waiting. And when he speaks, the chamber will learn what the terrorists in the sandbox already know. Some fires don't roar, they just burn everything in their path. The gavel cracked once, a gunshot in the marble cathedral, and Ted Lieu sees the floor like a prize fighter who'd waited years for the bell. The chamber's temperature spiked 10 degrees. Every camera lens swiveled to the dais where Kash Patel sat motionless, the eye of the hurricane. Lieu's opening salvo had been policy, FISA reform, January 6 files, but now the masks slipped. The questions curdled into something uglier. "Mr. Patel," Lieu began, voice climbing an octave, "you claim to love the Constitution, yet you spent 4 years as Donald Trump's personal shredder. You cheered when he called for the termination of constitutional rules. How do we trust a man whose loyalty is to a single individual, not the oath?" Cheers erupted from the Democratic side. A senator pumped a fist. Phones flashed. Hashtag Traitor Patel trended within seconds. Lieu paced, tie askew, sweat beading under the lights. "And let's talk loyalty. Your parents came from India, correct? Beautiful country, rich culture. But you've spent your career attacking American institutions. Tell us, Mr. Patel, when did you decide the country that gave your family refuge wasn't worth defending?" The slur landed like a slap. Gasps ricocheted through the gallery. A young staffer covered her mouth. On live stream chats, viewers typed in all caps, "Did he just..." Progressive influencers froze mid-tweet, sensing the line crossed into radioactive. Patel's expression didn't flicker. He leaned into the microphone, voice low, deliberate. "Congressman, my parents fled genocide. They taught me the Constitution isn't a suggestion. It's the reason we survived. I've prosecuted terrorists who wanted us dead for the crime of existing. My loyalty is to the document, not the demagogue du jour." The words were calm, but they carried the weight of shrapnel. Lieu's face flushed crimson. He interrupted before Patel finished. "Answer the question. You called the FBI corrupt on national television. You want to lead an agency you've spent years trying to burn down?" His finger stabbed the air. Spittle flecked the microphone. The chamber buzzed. Partisan, cheers on one side, stunned silence on the other. A Republican senator muttered, "This is a disgrace." Patel's response came measured, almost gentle. "I called out specific abuses. FISA warrants based on fabricated dossiers, agents texting about insurance policies against elected leaders. Fixing rot isn't burning the House, Congressman, it's saving it." He slid a thin folder forward unmarked. "I brought receipts." Lieu snatched the bait. "Receipts? From where, Truth Social? You're a conspiracy peddler in a suit." His voice cracked. The smirk was gone, replaced by frantic eyes darting to aides for rescue. The committee Democrats shifted uncomfortably. Even they sensed the unraveling. On split screens, CNN's chyron blinked. Lieu presses Patel on loyalty. Patel's next deflection was surgical. "Congressman, you voted to renew Section 702 without warrant requirements. Surveillance. That swept up millions of Americans. Where was your outrage then?" The question hung like smoke. Lieu opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound. The chamber inhaled as one. The escalation hit fever pitch. Lieu, voice now a shout, "You're dodging. You're here to purge anyone who investigated Trump. Admit it." He slammed the table. Papers scattered. Aides winced. The gallery erupted. Boos, applause, someone yelling shame. Patel sat unmoved, ice in his veins while the fire raged. His silence wasn't retreat. It was a coiled spring. Viewers felt the injustice boiling. In living rooms across America, fists clenched, a nurse in Chicago paused mid-scroll, tears stinging. When they're attacking his family, a teacher in Atlanta texted her group chat, "This is what they do to anyone who threatens them." The chat exploded with fire emojis and broken heart reacts. The nation leaned forward, hearts pounding in unison, begging for the moment when the storm would break. Lieu leaned in for the kill, breath ragged. "One last chance, Mr. Patel. Renounce your past statements or admit you're unfit." The chamber held its breath. Patel's fingers brushed the folder, his eyes, steady, ancient, locked on Lieu, the calm before the thunder, and in that suspended second, every viewer knew the blade was about to fall. The gavel's echo faded into a vacuum, the kind that sucks sound from lungs and hope from hearts. Ted Lieu hovered, triumphant in his mind, his last slur still echoing. "Admit you're unfit." The chamber teetered on a knife's edge, partisan lines drawn in sweat and scorn. Every camera zeroed in on Kash Patel. He didn't rush, didn't raise his voice. He simply existed in the moment, a granite statue amid the gale. Then, with the precision of a surgeon who'd operated under fire, he leaned forward. The room held its breath. "Congressman Lieu," Patel intoned, voice steady as bedrock, resonating through the microphones like a verdict from on high. "You've spent this hearing assassinating my character, my heritage, my loyalty. Let's flip the script with facts." He opened the folder, slow, deliberate, the rustle amplified into a roar. The jumbotrons ignited, projecting a declassified memo in stark black and white. Exhibit A, FBI Crossfire Hurricane 2016. Internal note, primary subsource discredited, information unreliable, possibly Russian disinformation. Yet this dossier, funded by your party's operatives, was used to spy on an American campaign. 4 FISA warrants, all flawed, 17 material omissions confirmed by the Inspector General. You demand I renounce calling that corruption? A beat, the silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Then, from the back, a lone clap. It snowballed, thunderous applause crashing from Republicans, stunned murmurs from the center. Lieu's eyes darted, seeking allies, found none. Patel pressed on, unflinching. "You question my fitness because I exposed this. But where were you when the Horowitz report dropped? Silent. Your committee defended the indefensible." He flipped the page with a flick that cracked like a whip. Next up, text messages, pixelated but damning. Peter struck to Lisa Page, "We'll stop him." Referring to a candidate, FBI lovers plotting in the shadows. Bias baked in. The Durham probe called it serious failures. Yet agents involved faced no reckoning. Double standard, Congressman? Lieu lunged forward, voice cracking, irrelevant ancient history. Patel's gaze pinned him. Ancient? Like your selective memory on Section 702? You voted to renew warrantless surveillance, vacuuming up millions of Americans' data, journalists, activists, even congressional staff. But when I advocate reforms to protect privacy, I'm the threat to democracy? Pause. The crowd inhaled sharply. A whistleblower affidavit materialized on screen from a 20-year FBI veteran. Directives from HQ to inflate domestic extremism cases on right-wing groups while downgrading left-wing violence. 2020 riots, 574 events, billions in damage, federal courthouses firebombed. How many task forces? 0. January 6th? Endless. Thunderclap, the gallery erupted. Gasps turning to cheers, phones flashing like paparazzi lightning. Lieu's face began its collapse, brows furrowing, lips pursing, the smug grin inverting into a grimace. His hands trembled. He gripped the mic stand to steady. Aides hovered, whispering retreats. Patel sensed blood. "You attacked my immigrant roots. My parents escaped genocide under a regime that jailed dissenters. They came here for blind justice, not the partisan playbook your side wrote." Another document, an email chain, 2021, FBI leadership to field offices, prioritize investigations aligning with White House priorities. Translation, target parents protesting school boards, label them terrorists. Meanwhile, cartel fentanyl pours across borders, killing our kids. 100,000 last year, your outrage, crickets, slow motion zinger. Patel paused after each reveal, letting the words detonate fully. Crowd reactions built like a wave. Stunned silence, then explosive applause. Feet stomping the balcony, Lieu crumpled further, flushed skin paling to ghost white, eyes wide with the dawning horror of a trap sprung, his confidence shattered in shards, a stuttered rebuttal dying unborn, a desperate glance to the chair for rescue. Schadenfreude sang, viewers at home cackling, memes spawning, Lieu as a deflating balloon. You call me Trump's puppet, Patel continued, voice rising just enough to command without shouting. But who ignored the Hunter Biden laptop? 51 former Intel officials, many Democrat donors, signed a letter calling it Russian disinfo, suppressed by big tech at FBI, urging election interference or just protection for the powerful. The final bomb loomed. Lieu tried one last gasp. Conspiracy theories. Patel locked eyes, leaned forward fully now, the room holding its breath as he dropped the bomb that silenced the smugness forever. No theories, Congressman. Truth. The FBI. I'll lead answers to the people, not the palace. Your hypocrisy ends here. America deserves better than selective justice. And today, they see it clearly. The chamber exploded. Standing ovation, bipartisan in patches, the air electric with vindication. Lieu sank into his chair, cornered animal in a spotlight, face a mask of ruin. Patel sat back, composure unbroken, the calm warrior victorious. The takedown was complete, surgical, a symphony of facts over fury. But the shock waves were only starting to ripple. The chamber doors burst open like a dam breaking, but the real flood was digital. Within seconds of Kash Patel's final word, your hypocrisy ends here. The internet ignited. Hashtag Patel takedown rocketed to #1 globally, surpassing even the latest celebrity breakup or election meltdown. Tweets multiplied like viruses. 10,000 in the first minute, 100,000 by the time Lieu slunk from the dais, head bowed under the weight of his own unraveling. Screenshots of Patel's steely gaze locked on a crumbling Lieu became the meme template of the hour, a visual gut punch that spread faster than wildfire. One version slapped it over a deer in headlights gif, Lieu realizing facts don't care about your feelings. Another morphed his grimace into the wicked witch melting under Dorothy's house, captioned, when the dossier you defended meets the light of day. TikTok stitched the takedown to swelling orchestral scores. Patel's pauses drawn out in slow-mo, Lieu's fluster synced to cartoonish pratfalls, racking up 50 million views by dusk. Instagram reels looped the heritage slur followed by Patel's calm flip. Hashtags like hashtag immigrant pride and hashtag truth hurts exploding in rainbow filters. Progressive feeds, once an ironclad fortress of hashtag resist and blue wave bravado, cracked wide open with reluctant awe. A viral thread from a Los Angeles community organizer. Her profile pic a faded photo of her Mexican abuela. Tuned in to watch Lieu dismantle the MAGA machine, got schooled on dignity instead. Patel didn't yell, he educated. That's the serum we all need. Hashtag Patel takedown. It threaded 20,000 replies, many from fair-minded liberals who'd arrived skeptical, left inspired. A former Obama White House aide, bio-screaming coastal elite, posted, uncomfortable truth, those FISA memos Patel dropped? My party buried them, time for accountability on all sides. Even a vocal squad surrogate liked the clip, subtly, from a burner account, but the internet's eyes missed nothing. Conservatives flooded the zone with unbridled glee, fire emojis raining like confetti. A Montana rancher live-streamed his family gathered around the TV, kids high-fiving. This ain't rage, this is receipts. Patel just showed the forgotten how to fight smart. The validation hit personal, bone deep. A Queens high school teacher DM'd Patel's nascent fan page, my South Asian students, kids who look like you did, saw a mirror today, not a villain, a victor. Viewers across the heartland and the coasts felt the pull, that magnetic tug of inclusion in a movement too raw to ignore. This is why we fight became the reply chain mantra, a digital chorus echoing from kitchen tables to coffee shops. In a Chicago suburb, a Pakistani-American nurse paused her shift, tears blurring her phone screen as she typed, held my breath like it was my story up there. Now, I'm sharing mine. Fought the system for my green card, won because of folks like Patel paving the way. Her post sparked a thread of 500 confessions, underdogs from every stripe, immigrants and natives alike, spilling tales of quiet battles against bureaucratic tyrants. A Detroit auto worker, union strong but Trump curious. Lieu mocked his roots, Patel honored them, felt that in my steel mill bones. This is awakening, not division. The reactions layered like a symphony, making every scroll feel communal, every like a fist bump in the dark. It wasn't just viral, it was visceral, a collective exhale that whispered, you're not alone. We're the tremor they fear. But the digital blaze leaped into the analog world, scorching the Beltway's polished veneer. CNN's Situation Room cut live from the Capitol steps, Jake Tapper's perpetual scowl deepening into genuine bewilderment. What we just witnessed wasn't a hearing. It was a reckoning, he conceded. Chiron flipping from Lieu presses Patel on loyalty to nominee exposes FBI double standards with declassified bombshells. Panelists stammered pivots, a Democratic strategist. Those struck texts, we can't dismiss them anymore. Over on Fox, the set nearly vibrated with Sean Hannity's vindication roar. Patel didn't just survive, he slayed the swamp dragon on live TV. Pundits across the spectrum contorted like acrobats. MSNBC's Joy Reid, mid-segment on GOP threats, halted cold. Hold up, Patel's folder of warrants? That's homework we all skipped. This demands a deeper dive. The echo chamber, once a comfortable feedback loop, warped under the pressure, forcing even the most entrenched to nod at the irrefutable late-night monologues scrambled. Stephen Colbert's writers junked the Lieu roast for a half-admiring bit on the immigrant son who outlawyered the lawyer. The ripple effect surged through Tinseltown and beyond. Celebrities plunging in like lifeguards to a riptide. Picture redacted for drama, the Oscar-winning firebrand known for her tearful Golden Globe speeches on inequality, blasting out a tweet that lit the timeline ablaze. In a room full of suits, one man reminded us, dignity isn't partisan, it's American. Kash Patel, you have my solidarity, and my retweet, #PatelTakedown. It amassed 3 million engagements in 90 minutes. Her massive Gen Z following, activists who'd marched for DACA and Black Lives, flooding replies with heart eyes and fist emojis, turning the moment into a beacon for identity pride. Elon Musk amplified it with a terse mic drop heard round the world, his algorithm ensuring it blanketed every feed. Podcasters from Joe Rogan to the Young Turks dissected it live, Rogan chuckling. Lieu walked in cocky, walked out schooled. Patel's the real deal. The cultural quake toppled dominoes. A Netflix exec fresh from a diversity panel greenlit a docuseries pitch on outsider guardians by morning politicians. Those swamp creatures with the keenest survival instincts scrambled like rats from a sinking ship. Senate Democrats convened emergency huddles in the cloakroom's dim leather shadows, whispers frantic as leaked memos. Chuck Schumer's office coughed up a mealy-mouthed release. Today's exchanges highlighted vital oversight concerns for the American people. Code 4, cut ties with the hot potato, a vulnerable Nevada freshman, polling shaky in her swing district, broke ranks with a tweet. Patel's call for blind justice resonates across the aisle. Let's fix the FBI, not fight over it. Republicans, sensing blood, orchestrated a slow clap montage on the floor, Mitch McConnell's rare grin cracking like dry earth after rain. Lieu's inner circle went dark. His scheduled West Coast fundraiser evaporated under boycott clouds from Silicon Valley donors texting en masse. Too radioactive. Pull the plug. Colleagues distanced with surgical precision. A California delegation ally told reporters off record, Ted's passion is admirable, but timing. The villain, once a darling of the donor class, morphed overnight into electoral arsenic, his name now shorthand for self-sabotage. One man's unyielding dignity had unleashed this maelstrom, tremors radiating from a single Senate table to the nation's nerve center. It proved the elite's grip was glass, shatterable by truth wielded without apology. Fans across divides absorbed the lesson, their reactions a rising tide. This is why we fight, echoed a viral audio clip of a Texas mom to her daughters, because moments like Patel's remind us the power's always been ours. In living rooms from L.A., lofts to rural porches, families hit replay, hearts swelling with the promise of an America reawakening, not to division, but to the fierce, shared fire of resilience. The shockwaves rolled on, but the real quake was internal. A movement born, viewers no longer passive, but primed for the moral dawn just breaking. The hearing's final bell rang like a cathedral chime, but the silence that followed was sacred. Cameras still rolled, capturing the wreckage. Ted Lieu's empty chair, papers askew, the ghost of his smirk long dissolved. Kash Patel remained seated, hands folded, the folder of truth closed beside him. The chairman cleared his throat, voice hoarse from the storm. Mr. Patel, any closing remarks? Patel rose, not in triumph but in reverence, as if the oath he'd sworn decades ago demanded posture. The room, battered by thunder, now leaned in for the whisper, Chairman, colleagues, America, he began, voice a quiet river carving stone. Today I was called a puppet, a threat, a man whose heritage disqualifies him. Let me reframe that venom into victory. He turned to the gallery, eyes sweeping over faces that mirrored his own journey. Brown, black, white, weary, hopeful. My parents fled a dictator who jailed dissenters. They arrived with nothing but faith in this nation's promise. Justice blind to name, to origin, to party. That promise isn't a slogan. It's the reason I prosecuted terrorists in war zones, the reason I shielded whistleblowers in D.C. corridors, the reason I sit here now. He lifted the folder, not as a weapon, but a torch. These documents aren't about settling scores. They're proof that the FBI, our shield, must answer to the Constitution, not the court of public opinion or private vendettas. True leadership demands blind justice, not blind allegiance. It demands we fix what's broken, not burn what's sacred. His gaze found the Democratic side, where Lieu's allies sat rigid. Congressman Lieu attacked my roots. Let him, those roots are the American story. Immigrants who swept floors, drove cabs, and raised sons to guard the gate. Every slur he hurled at me lands on every dreamer who ever queued at Ellis Island. Every child who learned the pledge in a new tongue. We are not the exception. We are the engine. The chamber stirred. A veteran in the balcony nodded, tears carving clean lines through dust on his cheeks. Patel's voice rose, not in volume but in light. This isn't about one party's sins or another's saints. It's about a nation of second chances choosing courage over comfort. Dignity crushes division. Service outshines scandals. Resilience, quiet, unbreakable, turns poison into power. He paused, letting the words settle like snow on scorched earth. I don't stand here for applause. I stand for the single mom grinding 2 jobs, the veteran fighting nightmares in the VA, the kid in Queens who'll watch this replay and believe the gate still swings open. The crescendo built, hearts pounding in unison. Let today be the rallying cry. Immigrant dreams aren't a liability. They're the fuel of American greatness. The boy who stocked shelves now guards the bureau because someone believed merit outranks mockery. That someone is you, every American who refuses to let arrogance write our story. His voice cracked, not with weakness but with the weight of shared memory. My father counted quarters for milk. I count on you to count votes for truth. Together we prove the gate isn't closed. It's reinforced by every hand that dares to hold it open. Applause erupted, not partisan but primal, a wave that lifted even the skeptics to their feet. Phones captured the moment. Patel's silhouette against the seal of the United States, the folder, glowing like Excalibur, returned to the stone. In living rooms, viewers stood too. Nurses mid-shift, teachers at desks, parents pausing dinner. A viral clip captured a little girl in a hijab tugging her mother's sleeve. Mama, he looks like Uncle. Can I be FBI too? The mother's tearful nod became the image that broke the internet's heart and rebuilt it stronger. The moral crystallized, etched in the air like frost on glass. In a nation of second chances, arrogance falls, but truth and the heroes who wield it rises eternal. Patel's victory wasn't the crushed opponent. It was the mirror held to every soul watching. The venom had been transmuted. The gate stood wider, and America, bruised but unbowed, remembered its own reflection, resilient, radiant, ready, rep. Ted Lieu thought he cornered Kash Patel. But the FBI director's answer shocked everyone, and redefined courage in the Capitol. What began as an ambush ended as an anthem. One man, forged in sacrifice and armed with truth, turned venom into victory and reminded a watching nation that the gate still swings for the brave. The moral is crystal. One voice of integrity can shatter illusions of power. It proves America's strength lies not in marble halls or scripted sound bites, but in its unbowed spirits, the dreamers who rise, the guardians who stand, the underdogs who refuse to kneel. Dignity triumphs, truth endures. The swamp trembles when ordinary heroes speak. Now it's your turn. Hit subscribe to join the truth tellers who refuse to let the story be stolen. Share this video if you've ever been underestimated, counted out, or told your roots don't belong. Drop your own story of standing tall in the comments. Every word is a brick in the wall Washington can't tear down. Together we're the shockwave. They fear, louder than any hearing, stronger than any smear. The gate is open, walk through.